Would like to remind you to please be seated. We'll begin our next session very shortly on the roadmap of increasing Indonesia's upstream oil and gas investment. And this session is open to public, so this is actually one of the sessions that are going to be having exposures to a bigger audience. So we invite everyone to join the next session. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start the next session. Are you all ready? Yeah, I hope so. Okay, so on the third day of IPA, we are going to have the second session of the day on roadmap for increasing Indonesia's upstream oil and gas investment. And the objective of this session is to explore strategic efforts, policies, and coordination between government and stakeholders to enhance the attractiveness and competitiveness of Indonesia's upstream oil and gas sector. And the session will feature insights from Task Force Team for Increasing National Oil and Gas Lifting. And discussions will cover project acceleration, idle well utilization, POD development, and future exploration strategies. And ladies and gentlemen, just a quick reminder, there will be a Q&A session right after every discussion, so please take part in it by submitting questions of your own to any of the speakers that will be presented on the panel. This is the QR code. You can just scan it and submit your questions in the question box. Okay, so now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to introduce the next moderator. He is a respected energy policy expert and a thought leader in industry strategy, and currently serving as senior lecturer at the School of Business and Management, Institut Teknologi Bandung. We saw him yesterday on the stage. Let's call him again, and let's give a big round of applause to Bapak Widiawan Prawira Atmaja as our moderator. Oh, here you are, sir. Please. Okay, so once again, this session is open for public, and we do trust that Pak Widiawan will actually lead the moderator session very well as well. So if you have friends out there that do not know about this session, you may inform them and invite them to come in. And this is actually a good way for us to know what is going to be the roadmap, and the whole task force from the ministry is going to be presented on the panel. So we invite everyone. From outside, we'll probably open a little bit of wider doors to this Nusantara Hall for everyone to come in. Would you like to take it away?
Okay, thank you so much, my beautiful lady MC. I think I would just like to invite the panelists to come forward. Pa Nanang Abdul Manaf, please come forward. There you go. Okay, and Pa Ariana, Pa Direktur Hulu Migas. I can still call him professor, right? Pa Taufan Mangga. Here's one of the brightest mind in the industry. We would like to welcome also Pa Ricky. And last but not least, Pa Eddie, coming all the way from Bandung. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sehat, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. This would be a shame. I mean, we have a great panelists. I promise you it's going to be a great session. I think I have make an appeal to the organizing committee to call as many as the people who would like to come in. Before we start, just an administrative issue. Understand Pak Ariana, we would need to leave by 11. Our session is until 11:30. So we would let Pak Ariana, he will have a meeting at the Coordinating Minister of Economic Affairs, Kantor Menko Perekonomian jam 12. Jadi kasih waktu 1 jam. Again, I would like to make a bit of disclaimers. We are all Indonesians here, right? Why do I have to speak in English? I mean, it's only because the committee told me so. But I think most of you guys are Bahasa, right? So if somebody actually not really Indonesian speaking person, please ask your people next to you or something. And this is also your turn to to learn Bahasa Indonesia, because this is I'm not joking. Many of the things that need to be said is probably difficult to say it in English. Even prominent English speaking such as Burina Ruth will probably easy for her to say. I don't think some of the technical jargon, especially the one that related to our technical issue, may not be easy. So I would keep them open if the panelists would like to speak in Bahasa, or the question is going to come in Bahasa, please do so, okay? Please do so. I need to also make a disclaimer, not disclaimer for me, but for them. I'm responsible for this panel, so these people are the brightest mind in the government of Indonesia, coming from the ministry and also from SKK Migas, right? But this is important. They have to be politically correct. Don't you agree? They have to be politically correct. They cannot just say anything that they want to say. But I can. I can no longer be fired. It's a qualifier that I can always make because I'm a bit senior compared to them, right? I've been in the position of Pa Nanang in the ministry as the special advisor. I've been in the position of Pa Ricky as the deputy for planning and that's SKK Migas. And I know how it felt when I was there. So please bear with me. Don't be too harsh on them, especially the questions is coming from the audience. If they dodge the questions, I will try to take over. The responsibility is going to be mine, okay? I'm chairing this session, so don't worry, Bapak-Bapak sekalian, yeah? So this is an important session for the industry. Most of us were here yesterday, and we heard what Pak President's saying. That's music to our ears, isn't it? That's music to our ears, and I think with the people like Pak Nanang, Pak Ariana, Pak Tovan, Pak Ricky, Pak Eddie, I'm very much upbeat. We should feel elated by the remarks coming from the President. We need to deregulate, we need to continue to have a reform in the policy so that we can make the job for them relatively easier. Not going to be easy, but relatively easier. And hopefully it's more straightforward. And this is be benefiting to the industry, especially for all the investors who are actually sitting in this room. Without further ado, if I can actually start, we're going to have about 10 minutes for each. 10 minutes for each, presenting their, this is something to do with accelerating our industry, getting the reserve monetized, so from exploration, POD, development, monetizing, selling the molecules. We know that oil would be more straightforward because you just can sell it right away, but natural gas will probably more complicated because then it will have to have not only the infrastructure is needed, but also the economics need to be right. You have to match the willingness to pay of the consumers and the economics of the field. With that, I think we'll have a very exciting panel, and all these people will actually tell you what the task force is all about and how they will be responsible on their session. Pak Nanang, Angga, dipersilakan. Tujuh, Pak.
Tes. Halo, tes. Okay. Thank you, Pak Wawan, as the moderator, for the opportunity to share several updates from the task force of increasing oil and gas lifting acceleration. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me share the background why the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources established a task force team for increasing oil and gas lifting acceleration. If we look at the graphic at the slide 1, so we can see that in the last 5 years, national oil production continues declining around 4 up to the 7%, except in 2023, declining rate only 1%. But then, years 2024 declining rate back to 4.3%. Different situation comparing oil production for the gas production is relatively stable with better future prospect. Since 2022, gas production continues increasing around 2 up to 3%. And for this year, expected the gas production will continue increasing around 1%. In the last 2 years, exploration succeeded to discover gas resources with the significantly volume from the Andaman to South Andaman and North Ghana working areas. Gas is mainstay in the energy transition period. Domestic gas utilization currently around 68% and will continue increasing in the future. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, based on current situation that oil production continues declining and considering the aspiration to increase oil production to fulfill national oil demand, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources established a task force team for increasing oil and gas lifting acceleration through Minister Decree number 296.K/MG/MM 2024 on November 15, 2024. The main task of the task force team are accelerating program execution, and based on the work program and budget actually already set by the SKK Mages team, and then problem solving for the several issues with obstruct at the progress. I think many issues, more than 60% related with non-technical issues, social problem, permit, and so on and so on. And the others creating new regulation if needed, of course, and filling the gap. Here is the organization structure to support task force team. The director comprises the Minister Energy Mineral Resources and Vice Minister, Director General Oil and Gas, and Chairman SKK Migas. And as a Chairman, Special Advisor for the Minister Energy and Mineral Resources, myself, and then Vice Chairman, Pak Ariana, as Director Upstream of Director General Migas, and Secretary Pak Lucky Yusgiantoro, Secretary of the SKK Migas. And we have 7 working groups. Working Group 1, optimization of upstream oil and gas projects. And then Working Group 2, reactivation of the idle field and undeveloped discoveries. Working Group 3, reactivation of idle wells. Working Group 4, enhance oil recovery. In this session, we just talk about the enhanced oil recovery because we know that we still a long way to get the result from the EOR program. So number 5, exploration, and Working Group 6, license preparation, and then policy support and monitoring, reporting, and evaluation. Ladies and gentlemen, the main task of each working group, Working Group 1, supervising and maintaining the progress of existing upstream project. There are 15 projects ongoing and expected will be accomplished in this year and will contribute to increase oil and gas production. So we'll detail explanation by Professor Taufan. And then Working Group 2, supervising and accelerating the progress to reactivate and execute stranded POD and undeveloped discoveries. Working Group 3, supervising and accelerating the progress to reactivate around 4,500 idle wells to be operated with the capable partners. And Working Group 4, supervising and accelerating the progress of the EOR project, such as implementing chemical EOR in the several fields like Minas, Tanjung Field, Sukowati, and etc. Working Group 5, exploration, preparing the bidding round 2024, and then preparing as well 60 blocks to be offered in the next 2 years in the regular bidding round. So I think in the inauguration event, Minister already showed the candidate to be offered in the next bid round. Working Group 6 to support PSA operator for arranging permit by coordinating between the ministries, institution, regional government, and etc. Working Group 7, providing policies support if needed, such as draft of ministerial regulation on operational cooperation, we call it KSO, in idle field, well, and then draft of ministerial decree on EOR incentive, and then incentive and amendment of the PAC contract. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we would like to share as well regarding several activities in our team. We have weekly routine meeting, especially every Tuesday, in Directorate Migas office at 16 level. Progress monitoring meeting focus on the comparing realization versus target for each working group. Is there any delay? What are the issues which obstruct to progress and etc. Facilitate discussion to resolve urgent issues. We have invited, for instance, PTBA, Batubara in mining coal in South Sumatra management to discuss regarding the overlapping area with the new energy coal bed methane operators because they have to supply the gas to the PGN. And so that's why this very significant project, especially for the CBM. And I think only one, the CBM contractor passed and prepared to supply the gas. Sharing session regarding success story from the several PSC to increase production with the implementing certain technologies and methods. For instance, we have conducted sharing session for implementing gas lift back off GLPO and several get a very good result, yeah, in PSKT and then in Sanga-Sanga, multi-seed fracturing, MSF, yeah, one of the opportunity to increase production as well, and then low quality reservoir study to look for opportunity to add oil and gas production. Also, we have invited Festigo, one of the subsidiary from the Petronas, which develops several business concepts for lead life cycle asset, marginal field, and then stranded structure and undeveloped discovery. This is very good sharing. So we try to modify and then follow the success story conducted by the Festigo. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, with strong collaboration between the Ministry, Energy and Mineral Resources, SK Chemigas, PAC operator, all stakeholders, so we can achieve several progress. Adding oil production as of 20,000 BOPD and then 60 million scf per day from Forel Bronang and Trubuk Seafood Project development. We have accomplished 176 development wells out of 556 in Pertamina Hulu Rokan. Cooperation on idle wells, batch 1, idle structure, idle wells, batch 1 have already opened. Around 80 companies interested to participate in this program. And several progress are still ongoing. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, finally I would like to close my presentation with sharing several takeaways. For the existing policy, Government of Indonesia continues to improve investment climate in upstream oil and gas business, offering split for the contractor up to the 50%, and then government as well willing to give incentive for achieving project economies for sustainable oil and gas production. And then government as well give flexibility contract scheme, and then contractor can choose using the cost recovery on gross split. And then applicable of early production facilities for the new oil and gas discovery, especially located around the infrastructure. And then a list of potential future policies, the regulation, we just accomplish operational cooperation, KSO, for idle producing well and field, and then public community wells. Government as well arranging the special incentive for EOR, and then upstream oil and gas project as the strategic project, national project, and then exploitation state indirect tax exemption. We still ongoing discussion with the finance minister. I think that's all. Thank you very much. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I would like to ask Pak Taufan to be the next speaker.
What next? Okay. Thank you, moderator, Pak Widiawan. We are the same job as professor, Pak ya. Distinguished attendees, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's very honor for me to have these opportunities presenting what we have been doing to increase the oil and gas production as a national goal for 2029. We expected to hit 800,000 to 1 million, I think, mentioned by Pak Menteri Bahlil Hadi yesterday. I think that's quite ambitious target, but we have to put our best effort to fulfill that goal. So let me just So I think this is my first assignment from Pak Nanang. So I could not refuse Pak Nanang. So I have to be stand here before you. We have here in Skekemir guests, especially under my authorities, the team, to manage 15 projects, to be on stream in 2025. Surely that we have also more projects for the next year, the next 2 years. But here in this presentation, I would like to focus on the 15 non-PSN, the strategic project, but non-PSN, that expected to be on stream in 2025. This is critical to meet our production target, especially by WPNB target. So this some of these projects already on stream actually, as you may have known that we have seen and we have that one of them has been opened, has been by Mr. President. I think last week, Friday. This is about Trubuk and Forel. So that's, I think, a good indication that we already complete one of the very important projects. So these projects for this 2025 actually covers about 73,000 barrel oil per day, the capacity. But don't mislead by this data. This divided in some of them is actually maintaining, sustaining the production by, for example, maintaining through maintenance of the existing facilities, old facilities, debottlenecking, and also doing some optimization of existing fields. Part of them actually adding the production increase, which is 20,000 barrel oil per day. So this is the additional increase from the existing. Part of them actually on stream by Terubuk, so about 7,000 barrel oil per day. So we are expecting to have additional 13,000 barrel oil per day addition by the end of this year. So it is expected that we'll have 10,000 from Buick, about 10,000, 9,700 something barrel oil per day by Buick, ExxonMobil. Hopefully that by July, or maybe the latest is September, that will be on stream. And also we are expected to have additional production from enhanced oil recovery initial project from Minas COR, 3,000 Pak Riki. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So 3,000 maximum Pak Riki to be. But we are very optimistic. This project can be initiated during this year. So our team is actually try to monitor, guide these projects to be on stream, on time. Early this year, our management project team actually gathered all the operator, contractors to have the same vision, the same focus. We introduced the concept of Autoboss, on time, on budget, on scope, that has to be fulfilled. Otherwise, the project will be delayed, and also, of course, we should not forget about the quality and also the health and safety. Next. Let me see. Okay. Beside this 15, I would like to add that 15 projects on stream in 2025, but we have one project which is Forel. Actually, it was expected to on stream to be on stream on 2024, but because of some hurdles, and then we realized to be on stream in 2025. Beside those strategic projects, we have also PSN project, national, let me see, national strategic, yeah, national strategic projects. We have 4. Before we have 5, but one is already completed, which is Jambaran Tiong Biru. Now we are working on to complete, to realize the 4 remaining projects. One of them is actually the Geng North, which is comprised of Southern and North Hub. This is operated by Eni. They are estimated to be completed at the end of 2027. I mean, yeah. Hopefully we can achieve those targets. And also we have in the near, actually from Asap Kido Merah project. It's be estimated to be completed, to be on stream in 2026, so next year. Yeah. And also we have, of course, we have Abadi projects. So Alhamdulillah that we already, the progress is very good. Right now, the Abadi project, the FEED is ongoing, yeah, in the process. And then it is estimated to be on stream in 2030. And also we have Tanggo UCC project, which is estimated to be on stream in 2029. Those, the total of the production that that is estimated from those 4 PSN, National Strategic Project, is about, especially for the oil, is about 140,000 barrel oil per day. All is in the form of condensate, yeah. And also for the gas is about 4.2 billion, yeah. 4.2 billion standard cubic feet per day. Beside this new project, of course, we are not forgetting about optimizing the existing projects. How do we maintain the production, limiting the decrease of production by doing some optimization, drill well development. So these are the contribution. Actually, I would like to give my appreciation with the hard efforts by our colleagues from the operators, oil company, contractors that help to realize this production, to make additional production to maintain the current production level. So these are, for example, the existing baseline, the decline is about 14% until 26% from the current baseline. But because of the optimization, applying the technology to the existing wells and drilling the new development wells, we can maintain the decline, reduce the decline until 1.1%, ya Pak Nanang, that's about 1.1%. So the contribution, for example, the red line is from the development of drilling the development wells, yeah. And also this is helped by Pak Ricky team identifying the spot to be drilled, yeah. And also, which is very significant, is actually contribution from well service and also workover. Yeah, for example, implementing the technology about water shut off, gas shut off, and also sand consolidation and other technology to maintain or to increase the production. And this is for the gas, similar. So we have also done not just for the oil well, also for the not for the oil fields, also for the gas field. Basically, we can for the gas production, especially, it's not unlikely the oil production is not decline but incline. Hopefully, we can continue for the future. Besides those, we also we have actually implemented the technology of fracturing. Mostly this is from in the Pertamina fields from 2021 36 activities until 2025 196 activities, with averaging 100 barrel oil per day initial gain. So this is in average 4 times increase of the early production. But the issue is that when we try to get the new additional oil, because this is will be tied in to the existing facilities, so we have homework about debottlenecking. Yeah, sometimes because of this is very old facility, limited capacity, we may not get the maximum potential from each activities to be produced into the subsurface facilities. So I think that's all for the brief, maybe just to get some idea about activity. We can get into more detail during the discussion. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Pak Ricky, you can take the podium, please.
Oh, next slide. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm standing here. My mentor here, Pak Nanang, Pak Wawan. There I saw Pak Benny also. So hopefully I can deliver this message to all the parties here very well. It is a great honor for me to be here today. We are all aware that Indonesia is facing a structural decline in oil. Pak Taufan mentioned we are in a good shape for gas. This decline for oil poses a direct challenge to our energy security. However, it also presents a strong case for us to act decisively, strategically, and collaboratively. On this occasion, I would like to explain the foundation of the work carried out by the Idle Fields and Undeveloped Discoveries Working Group. This initiative originated from 2024. In 1 January 2024, the report Oil and Gas Resource and Reserve Reporting identified several project classification, namely idle field, stranded PODs, and undeveloped discovery. This classification represents untapped potential in Indonesia's upstream oil and gas sector. However, to transform these resources into productive assets, a well-designed and targeted strategy is essential. With a robust approach, the project may continue to remain stagnant and fail to contribute to national energy security and production target. We identify on the idle fields at that time, back to early 2025, there were 203 fields remain. In the stranded POD, we saw there was 74 projects equal to 52 PODs stranded. Undeveloped discovery, we saw 301 structures remain sitting there. While the medium to long-term strategies are in motion after we agree with the work program and budget, We are also addressing the immediate production shortfall through a national initiative called Filling the Gap. As shown in the slide, there is a noticeable gaps between the work program budget and actual production realization. This gap highlights the need for targeted and immediate interventions to boost short-term production. In work program and budget, the government set up the target 605,000 barrel oil per day. The work program technically showing us the 597 barrel oil per day. So there are 6,000 barrel oil per day gap. After we finish the work program and budget, we sit together with the contractors to try more aggressive program and program, we call it the Filling the Gap. And at the time, we saw the number, 25,000 barrel oil per day, there to be achieved with the Filling the Gap, not included in the work program and budget. Through the initiative under the Filling the Gap, we are taking concrete actions to close this gap by accelerating work over reactivating idle wells, like Pak Taufan mentioned, optimizing underperforming assets, and fast-tracking near-term opportunities. As of April 2025, I'm pleased to report this program has successfully contributed an additional nearly 5,000 barrel oil per day to the national production. Appreciate for the contractor to join this Filling the Gap initiative. Based on 2024 resource and reserve reporting, we identify 301 undeveloped discoveries. After 5 months, we do the discussion like Pak Nanang mentioned in the first slide. We have discovery represent a combined potential of 1.8 billion barrels of oil and 13.4 trillion cubic feet of gas. This is a significant volume that it properly monetized could contribute meaningfully to national production and energy security. In addition, yesterday, our minister mentioned we have 10 stranded PODs, project of development that were previously approved but have not moved forward. In the early 2025, we identified 52 PODs, but now after 5 months, we keep digging and come up with the 10 POD stranded. The recoverable resources around 551 million barrel oil and 0.6 TCF of gas. The reason for them being stranded vary, ranging to, from commercial challenge, infrastructure issue, and the change of the economic landscape. Reactivating these PODs, one of our key priorities. Lastly, we have 179. Before it was 203 structures, undeveloped discovery structures that are still in an early or intermediate stage of evaluation. This contain an estimate 116 million barrel oil and 0.4 trillion cubic feet of recoverable resources. Altogether, this figure underscore the vast untapped potential still sitting within Indonesia upstream portfolio. One of our key success focus area is the acceleration of undeveloped discovery. SKK Migas has identified a substantial number of structures that are classified as undeveloped discoveries. The obvious question is, why do the discoveries remain idle. First, development today are more complex than ever. Second one, many of our producing fields are mature, with aging infrastructure and increasing operational constraints. At the same time, emission standards continue to rise as the global energy system shifts toward net zero targets. These evolving technical and regulatory demands have one thing in common. They impact project economics, they drive up costs, increase risk, and extend timelines. And this is precisely why undeveloped discoveries, despite having commercial volumes, often remain stranded, not due to lack of resources potential, but because of the conditions required to unlock them are more challenging than ever before. To unlock this asset, we must improve the investment climate. True must improve the investment climate through better fiscal terms, streamlined permitting, infrastructure support, and regulatory stability, turning potential into production. We will continue to collaborate with the contractors, and like Professor Taufan mentioned, the BUIK Banyu Urip initiative acceleration from September to July will increase more production, and we have 2-3 discovery in exploration. We completed the put on production scheme to make it faster production from West Kalabau, PPC in Jambi Merang, and Astrea in Rokan to accelerate additional more production in Indonesia. So let me give a takeaway from my presentation with pantun. I spent 4 years in Rio, so like Pak Nanang said, maybe I have to say something in pantun. Langit cerah, burung pun terbang. Mentari pagi penuh harapan. Energi bangsa terus berkembang lewat kolaborasi dan perencanaan. Mari kita bersama-sama. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wah, ini berat nih Pak Edi. Udah. Silakan Pak Edi. Sorry. Pak Ariana. Setelah Pak Ariana baru Pak Edi. Maaf.
Thank you, Pak Wawan, Pak Nanang, Prof. Taufan, juga Pak Riki, Pak Edi. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, selamat pagi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Allow me from part of the task force to share about the contractors partnership to accelerate idle wells reactivation. As presented by Pak Minister yesterday, we saw that there are 3 strategies to increase production. The first regarding to the technology, and the second one is reactivation of idle wells and idle field, and the third one is massive exploration. Let me focus on the idle well reactivation. As we know, we have, like Pak Minister mentioned, we have 4,500 potential idle wells to be reactivated. We can see the next slide. From the 4,500 wells, mainly is from Pertamina, 4,200 from Pertamina. There are 1,700 wells will be executed by Pertamina themselves. And then there are 2,500 idle wells will be executed by Pertamina with partnership contract. And the roadmap is this year there will be 500 idle wells will be tendered by Pertamina, and then within this year or next year. And then the rest in 2027 and 2028, around 2,000 wells for the rest. And for the next slide, the potential of idle wells for cooperation or partnership mostly in Sumatra region, in the regional one, and also from the 500 wells, they are mostly located in onshore, but around 60 wells is located offshore. In the next slide, we also can see that Pertamina already reported to the task force that they already opened data for the idle wells partnership, has already done, invite potential partners, around 99 partners. And until now, at least 39 partners are willing to execute to reactivate the wells partnership. The execution of the agreement or contract is waiting for the regulation that we are preparing right now. As we see, as part of the public hearing, we are prepare the partnership contract to manage part of oil and gas working area to increase the production. This concept of regulation includes first, technology or operation cooperation strategy. It will cover cooperation for idle wells, producing wells, idle field, and also producing field. So K3S dipersilahkan untuk bermitra gitulah, berpartner dengan partner-partnernya nanti ini. Jadi partner yang pertama itu untuk kerjasama teknologi cooperation. And the second one, partnership on community well cooperation. We try to manage the illegal drilling in the community well cooperation. And the third cooperation is old well cooperation. Okay, now let's focus on the technology or operation cooperation to reactivate idle wells or idle field that Pak Ricky already presented. In the next slide, we can see how the partnership between K3S and partners will work for idle wells and idle field. There are new things in this regulation concept. Actually, now Pertamina or K3S, mainly Pertamina, already conduct this type of cooperation, so-called KSO, for field and idle well cooperation, and maybe they also have no cure no pay and strategic alliance and the other type of cooperation. But now the implementation is very limited. Like we now maybe know only 24 or 29 KSO. So we try to make this regulation to accelerate or to make the KSO more higher. The new concept will allow new activity like deepening, sidetrack, new drilling, multi-frac, which will be conducted by the partners. Before that, Pertamina doesn't allow the partner to do the deepening or sidetrack or drilling. But according to Pak Minister, we have to open that. Okay. And then how to choose the winner or how to choose the partner? It has three requirements. First, administrative, technical, finance, and service fee. The services fee aspect is very important. This is to prevent the long way negotiation between K3S or Pertamina and their partners. For example, for idle wells, partners will be paid for service fee as 70% of oil price. As you can see in the slide, the red one, service fee, 70% of ICP or cost, 70% cost. And then If there are competitors among partners, so the potential partners who can propose the lowest service fee will be the winner. So there are no negotiation anymore. While for idle fields, as you see in the graph on the right side, the service fee, as we know, that split between government and the K3S or Pertamina is 60% for government and 40% for contractors or Pertamina. In this case, the partners atau calon mitra yang Pertamina may have 85% as a service fee from the K3S Pertamina split. And KKKS only have 50% remaining. In this case, K3S or Pertamina doesn't provide investment and cost and also doesn't have a risk. So we do hope that this scheme will accelerate the negotiation between K3S Pertamina with its partner. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all for me. Sorry for inconvenience. I give the floor back to Pak Nanang and Pak Wawan. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Nggak ada yang nerusin pantunnya Pak Riki. Pak Edi, podium is yours.
Thank you, Pak Wawan. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semuanya. It is my privilege to address this distinguished forum, the 49 IPA Convex 2025. And today I am here to share with you the roadmap for increasing Indonesia's upstream oil and gas investment. And this presentation will provide the government plan for large-scale oil and gas exploration, as Pak Menteri yesterday mentioned that the one of 3 ways to improve our lifting is by doing massive exploration. And also we will prepare, as the task from Pak Nanang as Ketua Satgas, we seek to prepare over 60 working areas to be offered within 2 years. Okay, next slide please. Yeah. Apa ya kok jalan? Okay. This slide provides a brief overview of the government's large-scale oil and gas exploration in 2025 to 2026, carried out through expanded data acquisition and enhancement efforts at 14 locations. The exploration programs include data enhancement through 2D seismic and vibroseismic data reprocessing, and then full tensor gradiometry or FTG acquisition, 2D seismic acquisition, and control source electromagnetic or CSEM acquisition. This extensive exploration program is divided into single-year contract and multi-year contract scheme, as reflected by 2 colors on the slide. Seismic reprocessing under SYC, or single years contract, for the year 2025 will cover West Mutiara in Kutai offshore. It's about 1,000 kilometers. And then Rangkas in West Java for about 1,000 kilometers. In Jayapura offshore, it's about 1,000 kilometers. And the last one is vibroseismic reprocessing in Central Java to East Java, it's about 1,080 kilometers. The full tensor gradiometry, or FTG, acquisition will take place at 6 locations. For the first one is Warim. It's covered about 123,000 square kilometers. We'll be doing in multi-year contract, 2025 to 2026. And then Timor, it's covered about 15,500 square kilometers in 2025. And then Enrekang, it's about 29,000 square kilometers in this year, 2025. And also Lariang for 5,800 square kilometers, 2025. And then for FTG, for the next year, it will cover Tomori, Poso, Ampana. It's about 48,000 square kilometers, 2026. And then Muna, Buton, Kendari, and Kolaka, it will cover about 59,000 square kilometers for next year. The 2D seismic data will be acquired at 4 locations. The first one is Jayapura offshore. It's around 1,800 kilometers in this year. And then in Central Sumatra, it's about 500 kilometer lines within 2 years, 2025 to 2026. South Barito, about 500 kilometer, 2025 to 2026. And the last one is Berthad, about 800 kilometer, 2025 to 2026. The GICM acquisition is also planned for the Gorontalo Basin, covering 350 kilometers in this year. As part of the primary mandate of the exploration working group to prepare over 60 oil and gas blocks for the IPBR in 2025 and 2026, we have categorized the blocks into direct offer and regular tender working areas. This slide provides information about the direct offer working areas for 2025 to 2026 bidding rounds, which are determined based on completed and ongoing joint study activities. So a total of 39 blocks are being prepared as direct offer working areas. 16 blocks will be ready for 2025, and the rest, about 23 blocks across 2 bidding rounds in 2026. Here in this slide, we'd like to inform you that 48 working areas have been identified as candidates for regular tender planned for the IPBR period 2025 to 2029. These working areas consist of termination blocks and open areas that have been evaluated by the government. In 2025, a total of 4 blocks will be offered in the second bidding round. And in addition, this working group also initiated the study and promotion program for potential working areas to be carried out by the international consultant. In 2025, 10 areas are scheduled for study and promotion program and will be offered in the first round in 2026. Another 10 potential working areas are planned to undergo study and promotion by international consultant in 2026 and are expected to be offered in the second round of 2026. These areas will also be prepared using an integration of newly acquired and enhanced data from various years, 2025 to 2026 data acquisition. So furthermore, 24 blocks in open areas are planned to be offered as regular tender candidates for period 2027 and 2029. So in this honorable occasion, we would like to invite you cordially that please let's have a look these particular areas, and we are pleased to assist. In summary, the over 60 working areas are ready to be offered in the APBR in 2025 to 2026. 16 working areas will be offered through direct offer, and 4 working areas will be offered through regular tender in 2025. In the 2026 is expected to be a milestone for a massive bidding round with total 43 working areas to be offered, comprising 23 blocks through direct offer and 20 blocks through regular tender. And in addition, the 24 block candidates will being prepared for 2027 to 2029 bidding round. A total of 87 working areas are planned to be offered. So more than 60 working areas as Pak Nanang assigned to us. So this is what I can inform at this special occasion. Of course, this is the effort from the government. We know that we cannot satisfy everyone, but the picking of the location is considering so many aspects, the budget, and so also the timeline of the project. So please, we are ready to listen any feedback and also correction. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you all panelists, really well presenting. And then for the first round of questions, I will start according to the seating arrangement. So I would start with Pak Nanang, and then Pak Ariana, Pak Prof. Taufan, Pak Ricky, and Pak Eddie later on. Pak Nanang, I think, I don't know if I'm representing the audience here, but to me, at least personally, what you guys are presenting was quite convincing. But this is among people who understand, who knows. This is just among us, right? In this task force, who's going to be the one who's telling the other people outside our circle about this thing? Especially, who's going to be doing the roadshow after Prabowo, the president, actually telling that basically collaboration means that all these things that we need to do is not only coming from the ministry or SKK Migas and PSCs, or the supporting company as well. But many of what the process is done through the engagement with agency, organization, ministries outside the energy circle, right? Who's going to go to the ministries, forestry, lingkungan hidup, to the local governments, all the way, and we already got the PSN, for example. Who's going to ensure that the PSN is actually expediting within it? So in this task force, who's going to do that, Pak Nanang?
Thank you, Pak Wawan. Special task force for the increasing oil and gas lifting acceleration focus on the how to increase the oil and gas production through the several projects and then a routine program within the work program and budget already set by the SKK Migas. And then sometimes we look for the opportunity to filling the gap. And then, as I mentioned before, that more than 60%, the issues mostly comprising non-technical issues, yeah, permit, social problem, and then land clearing, overlap area with the others sector, yeah. Like I mentioned before, that they just complies to discuss with the PTBA, yeah, coal mining, because the overlapping area between the new energy, and then we are very concerned because new energy, one of the CBM contractor have already have POD, and then commercialization with the PGN, something like that. So this is very important for us to show that the government very aware, yeah, not only for the oil and gas, but the CBM as well. And who is the responsible for the several communication with the other institution like minister, other minister, badan, yeah, like BMKs and so on. So I think depend on the urgency level, Pak, yeah. We have the case tomorrow. Myself and then division head of the formalities will have the courtesy visit to the KDM, Governor of the
KDM.
West Java, KDM, yeah. So regarding the moratorium in the West Java, yeah, to release the area, especially field race, sawah, ya, sawah, protected sawah, ya. So, we have to explain regarding our president vision. One of the focus from my president, energy resilient, and the other, food resilient. So, conflict, how to resolve the conflict. So, we have to discuss deeply regarding which one the priorities, because in the undang-undang very clear, yeah, we can compensate the protected sawah with the to build the new area, yeah, to build the sawah and then cooperate with the of course the related institution like IPB, UGM and so on. Several cases, Vice Minister Pak Julio Tanjung willing, yeah, to visit to the other minister, visit to the other Minister Pertanian, yeah, BPN, yeah, ATR, and so on. So looks like this is the very good team, yeah, and then we have a very focused how to solve the problem facing by the PSA contractor. That's all, Pak Wawan.
Yes, I think perhaps the audience also would like to know, to understand where are the quick wins or the low-hanging fruits. Pertanyaan yang nendang itu yang mana sih Pak Nanang gitu ya, dari semua opsi yang ada di sini, dan kita percayalah ya bahwa ini ada jangka pendek, jangka menengah, dan jangka panjangnya. So which one are these that's going to of course, you show us the filling the gaps and everything, but kan targetnya 900 sampai 1 juta, cenah.
Ini bahasa Indonesia lagi. Baik, jadi to be honest ya Pak Wawan, yang bisa meningkatkan produksi signifikan itu hanya project, ya, project. Begitu on stream, Forel Bronang, Trubuk langsung 20.000, ya. Buik, ya, Buik, Banyu Urip, Infill, and Klastik. Hasil testing, 1 well 10.000, ya. Let's say kita produksi tidak 10.000, 5.000. Dari 5 sumur, langsung 25.000, gitu ya. Nah, jadi proyek inilah yang kita betul-betul jagain, supaya jangan delay, jangan apa istilahnya terganggu, ya, dan sebagainya. So government very focus how to make all the project on stream, on time, ya, on schedule, of course on the target, ya, as per target, especially the production. Itu Pak Wawan.
Thank you, Pak Nanang. I would like to move to Pak Ariana. This is a lot of questions, Pak Ariana. Yeah, jadi please be patient in this. Of course, we know that you are presenting the process on preparing. It seems that you are preparing something which is going to be announced relatively soon. Right? Could you actually explain to us what would be the new regulations that is going to be especially relating to the oil, the idle wells, and also can you also elaborate further on what's the new idea in the regulation concept of the ideal well? And then will ideal well significantly work to increase production? And whether the community wells and alt wells are also going to be planned to be regulated? Banyak nih pertanyaannya nih Pak. Ini banyak titipan nih Mas. Mohon maaf.
Thank you, Pak Wawan. Actually, this type of partnership, before that, I want to add that to increase the production, we need to do something on top of WPNB, of course. On top the project, of course, but we need to think something on top of the existing, the normal project. So, Pak Menteri said, kasarnya, udah kerjasamakan aja yang ada kerjasamakan aja. K3S, Pertamina, for example, not willing to do the partnership, because if the partner succeed, so Pertamina will be embarrassed. Okay, but if we keep Pertamina or K3S keep the field idle, so we don't have the country that doesn't have the production increasement. So the other solution is kawin paksa itu, partnership itu atau kawin paksa itu. The type of partnership contract already exists in K3S or Pertamina right now, but it doesn't conducted very well. For example, now there are only 24 or 29 KSO exist right now. Only 24 or 25 or 29. We all always hear idle wells contract, but actually the idle wells contract only maybe 2 or not very much. Gitu. Because too many negotiation between K3S or Pertamina and their partners. We must understand that Pertamina really afraid if Pertamina give too much service fee to the partner, it will be merugikan Pertamina as well. So this government give the regulation, okay, the service fee is 70% ICP. Okay. No negotiation unless there are partners willing to propose the lower 70%, it will be the winner. So the new idea is give the certainty for partnership between Pertamina and the partners candidate. And the second new idea is we need to add the new activity like deepening, drilling, sidetrack that previously it cannot be done in the type of KSO right now. So, of course, there is a risk for Pertamina or K3S, but in the contract, we will put the risk on the partner, so it will win-win a solution. And yes, we do have the other second idea to increase the production is community well or illegal drilling gitu ya. Like Pak Minister and Pak Nanang juga always mention, and Pak Kepala SKK juga always mention, we have the potential from illegal drilling at so-called community well. The potential around 6,000 up to 10,000 barrel per day. How we can get this additional production to national production? So we will have, we will let this community well keep producing for 4 years. But in the same time, we need to improve so the community well is doing the good engineering practice. After 4 years, if the community well didn't do the good engineering practice, we need to shut down or law enforcement. Okay, something like that. Okay, thank you, Pak Wawan.
Jadi tadi bahasanya bagus ya, community wells. Jadi mungkin jangan dibilang lagi illegal wells gitu ya, atau illegal drilling gitu ya. Tapi gimana caranya supaya lebih di ini dengan baik. Tapi dari regulasinya nanti akan ada, Pak?
Iya, jadi kita nanti tunggu Pak Menteri yang akan meluncing regulasi itu, bentuknya peraturan Menteri gitu. Karena Pak Menteri sebagai Ketua Satgas Hilirisasi dan Ketahanan Energi gitu, Pak.
Oh iya.
Nah, jadi di anggota Satgas Hilirisasi dan Ketahanan Energi itu di dalamnya ada menteri-menteri lain termasuk Menteri Lingkungan Hidup, ada aparat penegak hukum juga di situ. Jadi diharapkan bisa bersama-sama kita mengkoordinir itu. Kita inventarisasi illegal drilling atau sumber masyarakat yang ada sekarang, berapa jumlahnya, nanti nggak boleh nambah lagi, nah itu nanti ya boleh diproduksikan pada periode penanganan sementara itu. Tapi nanti detailnya Pak Menteri tentu yang akan menyampaikan.
I think Pak Ariana mention a few times about Pertamina gitu ya. Sayangnya nggak ada Pertamina kecuali kalau ada dari audiens yang mau bicara on behalf of Pertamina. Tapi Pak Nanang ini kan pernah bos di Pertamina. Ini udah dikomunikasikan dan mereka bilangnya apa, Pak Nanang?
Ya intinya gini, kalau yang namanya idols memang artinya sudah bukan menjadi prioritinya K3S ya, kontraktor Pertamina ya. So many reason, Pak. Because uneconomic if we produce, operate the wells, technical problem, and water cut, very high water cut, and because we have the limited facilities to inject the water, something like that. If idle well operate by the small company, BUMD, of course they have the capability to operate the wells. So we expect they will get the economic level, and then so many BUMD request, to get the idle well. So I think this is the very good collaboration between the government, operator, and then local government, to protect our industry, because to be honest that all operation located in the local areas, in the areas. So that's why collaboration is very good through the collaboration with operating the idle well, something like that.
Good, thank you, Pak Nana. Perhaps since Pak Ariana needs to leave very soon, if you would like to say a few words about your concluding remarks to the audience, what will be okay. It's all right. So we'll have another round, and Pak Ari, feel free to move ahead for your next meeting, just in case you need to get, because this is quite far and could be traffic jam. We move on to have the questions to Pak Profesor. Ini panjang juga, Pak. Jadi mohon maaf ya Pak ya kalau banyak, dan nanti mungkin bacain sekaligus. Nanti kalau perlu diulang-ulang boleh ya. Jadi pertanyaannya ini pertanyaan pertama. Congratulations, ini baik dulu bilangnya nih ya. Congratulations on the inauguration of production from the Forel, Berenang, and Trubuk fields. Wah, congratulations Pak. Pertama, ini cuma ada however-nya nih. However, data shows that Forel Berenang was expected to be on stream since last year. What caused the delay? Question number 2. Belum Pak, terus nanti bisa diulang, Question number 2. Isn't the FID an internal matter for PAC operators? Many of the PAC representation here. To what extent can SKK Migas serve as a facilitator? Maksudnya jangan jadi penghambat gitu ya? Ini nggak ditulis Pak, itu saya ngomong. Question number 3. Of the projects eligible to move from FID to EPC status, many face delays and some already stranded. How can we address this? This is exactly what Pa Nanang earlier says about projects. Question number 4, what steps are being taken to manage ongoing production and well performance to prevent a decline? Tadi udah jadi kalau yang ini nggak usah jawab nggak apa-apa. Nomor 5, given our mature fields and high recovery factor, how can technology help us overcome challenges? Wah, ini sebagai profesor diuji nih. Jahat yang nanya. Silakan Pak.
Okay, Pak Widyawan, so a lot of questions. Maybe I will answer what I remember first. Maybe I need you to repeat if you know the other questions. First about the Vorel. Yeah, it is actually originated to be on stream in 2024. There are hurdles during the process, of course. The most I think the most critical is about the during the EPC, yeah, the engineering procurement and the construction process, especially the FPSO, because this is the route is by converting the FSO into FPSO. I think this is during the problem is about how the financial issue during the subcontractor of the EPC, and also the problem of managing the subcontractor by the EPC. So it is very critical that we should select the reputable EPC contractor, bona fide EPC contractor that can deliver on time. We cannot just focus on the cheap or cost efficient at the beginning, but at the end, and then the costs become increasing. And then we have to face on the change order, we face of the revision of the AFE. So I think start from the beginning, we should be proper, selected the EPC contractor, bona fide and reputable, and proven. I think that's for to answer question number 1, yeah. Question number 2, what's it? Maybe one by one, so I will answer.
Siap. Number 2 question, isn't the FID an internal matter for PSC operators?
Okay.
To what extent can SKK Migas serve as a facilitator?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Even the question you have to read, yeah, but so I have also to read my answer. I think some of them are mentioned also addressed by Pak Nanang. Yeah. Okay, this is the slide actually. We have some key factors that affecting our delivery of the projects. There are issues before FID. There are issues after FID. So before FID, we have critical issues, which is actually gatekeeper for the gas projects. We should have a gas sales agreement. The off-taker. I think Pak Nanang team will, and also we have a commercial division that will also will help to connect with the off-takers. The issue of the APCI cost bidding results, because FID also usually waiting for the standard process. There are examples that for the project can be continued because of the result of the bidding is the cost is much higher than the estimate offer, something like that. So that's also, and also there is a project economics. I think project economics SKK Migas can facilitate through Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources. Like as long as increasing the production, we can discuss about the project economics, by providing maybe the contractor, the operator asking about incentive, a new scheme of split. As long as that's mutually benefit, increasing production to achieve the target by President, in 2029, part of 2009. So we can talk about that one, and then we can do propose to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Pak. So I think that's and financing issue. We have a stranded projects because the operator actually have a financial issue problem. So SKK Migas, because in university I used to have a managing a science technopark with triple helix, multiple helix, actually as a hub. So I consider the SKK Migas a hub, where the multi-stakeholders, managing multi-stakeholders. So triple helix, multiple helix. So we can connect, the stakeholders, connecting between those two stakeholders. So for example, for the financing, maybe from commercial division, they can connect to the operator that needs, that have a financial issue. So that's a thing that we can do by SKK Migas. We're not just a regulatory, but we are also the partner, to as an enabler. I think that's for the answer to a second question, Pak.
I don't know if you would like to elaborate for the question number 3, because you already actually
Number 3, what is number 3?
address in the first question, but I'll read it again.
Okay.
Of the projects eligible to move from FID to
Oh,
EPC, many face delays and some already
Yeah.
stranded. How can we address this?
Okay, so that's the issue is after FID. Okay, so in here we have in this slide the issue mostly on the EPCI, and then I will reveal the data collected by team. So this is I appreciate my teams that collecting the data from 2022 until 2025. Yeah, this is the slide, Pak. Yeah, so I think okay. So there are many factors that actually affecting the projects delay. Of course, there is a nature, nature, which is weather. We have off-takers. We have issue on the PSC project management team, also PSC financial, the PSC management itself. There is some external stakeholder permit and so forth. And the EPC, especially for the SPC long lead item, also failure to deliver the products on time, the products quality, and even the EPC financial. So there are a lot of factors over there, Pak. So if we move to the next slide, the next slides. Oh, already, okay. So you can just break down into sub-components into 4, from many factors into 4. PSC contributing factor from PSC operator, EPC contractor, external stakeholder, and others. The most contributing factors that affect the delay, surprisingly, is actually the EPC contractor. This is about 50% of the delay is by EPC contractors, not by permit. Yeah, this is the data. This is the data, because what always been sounding to the surface is about permit regulation. But actually, the most contributing factor is PC contractor. During the execution. So this is actually I would like to stress again, selecting the reputable, bona fide, proven EPC contractor. It is a very significant factor. It's very important. And then managing the subcon, selecting the subcon. This is very important. So that's a very critical, Pak Widiawan. Thank you, Pak.
Pertanyaan terakhir, Pak. Given our mature fields and high recovery factors, how can technology help us overcome challenges?
Sure, that I think technology advancing. There are a lot of technology that available in here, and also it's already proven by. I appreciate colleagues from ExxonMobil, in Banyu Urip. They implement technology like gas shut off, water shut off using kind of polymer, something like that, and also the they call it low dose acidizing. I call it control dose acidizing. Not necessarily low, because every field is different. yeah, not necessarily low. So this this should be spread, yeah, to other. Sorry, I have a cough. To other the operators, so they can implement the same, similar, but going to be adjusted to their own problems, yeah. So, but of course, the application of the technology depend on the whether they can economically fly, yeah. So, if technology can increase production, but it's not as a project, it's not economic, so we cannot do that, yeah. So, I think that's the key. We have technology can solve the problem, increase the production, but again, still we need to consider the project economics. Thank you, Pak.
Terima kasih Pak Rofak. Ini nanti ini kalau yang nanya dikasih apa gitu enggak ya? Biar semangat nanyanya. Ini kayaknya ada yang nggak pengen Pak Ariana pergi nih. Ini ada pertanyaan di sini, apakah roadmap yang telah disusun dapat, ini ke Pak Nanang dan Pak Ariana ya, apakah roadmap yang telah disusun dapat dituangkan secara resmi di tingkat peraturan pemerintah, PP, sehingga dapat menjadi kesepakatan bangsa dan acuan seperti GBHN antara Pak Nanang dan Pak Ariana nih sebagai orang pemerintah.
Tes. Yeah, I have experience to support the Dewan Energi Nasional, yeah, National Energy Agency, yeah, led by the President, and then Ketua Harian apa, Delhi, Ketua Hariannya Pak Minister Energy and Natural Resources. So all our long-term planning, yeah, especially oil and gas, not only oil and gas, especially all the energy, but specific for oil and gas, we always feeding the long-term planning for oil and gas production, at least for the 2035, yeah. So already state in the Dewan Energi Nasional, Pak Wawan. So that's why this very strategic and then should be followed by all the stakeholders, including the local government and then other ministry.
Kita pindah ke Pak Riki dulu kali ya. Saya buka contoh
Tes.
dulu.
Waduh, siap Pak Wawan.
Maaf. Kebanyakan diganggu nih moderatornya. Pak Riki, is it only recently that SKK Migas has started to consider reactivating idle fields and developing undeveloped discoveries? Are idle fields and undeveloped discovery mainly a technical problem, or are there other challenges involved?
Okay, thank you Pak Wawan. Maybe I start with the idle field first. With the story maybe. Last week I go to Subang. The name field is Pagaden from Pertamina, just 2 hours from Jakarta. If you speed up with 150 kilometers per hour, you will arrive in 1 hour. So the structure has been drilled in 1976, and the Pertamina do the new mindset. The new mindset going to the deeper. They have existing pad. From the Pagaden existing pad, just only 200 barrel oil per day. But with the new mindset, SKK Migas with the team collaborate to seek around the new target. We going to the deeper and agree to drill in the existing pad. And last week, the come up from the drilling showing 1,600 barrel fluid per day with only 3% water cut. It means right now they can produce 800 barrel oil per day. The piping from the existing to goes to the Cilamaya has been dismantled to the other structure. And from that story, we can saying that This is a good mindset from the idle field that has been postponed for a long time, and now because we are required, needed, the production has been tracking with several time track around Subang and Cilamaya, in 30 minutes, a lot of tracking, and it will be our concern also regarding the safety, of course. But with this story, the idle field is there, and why? This is not new. This is a good example how we can endorse the contractors to do a new mindset regarding the idle field. Also with the undeveloped discovery, we have 301 structures from the report of the ESDC. We saw, this one is very many structure. Like Pak Ariana said, the structure is defined from the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. But maybe they just need push back to have a strategic alliance, something like that. We met and discussed with the Pertamina Group. There are almost 200 undeveloped discovery. We go to deeper to the and every regional to mention they have the undeveloped discovery, and they come to us and say we would like to do it by ourselves, and we come up from 200, around 200 development. Pertamina saying they will keep almost 920. So we met the HHU, the management, and make it the commitment, gentleman agreement, to answer our letter to them. We also met the Medco group. There are almost 20 undeveloped structure. They agree to release 5 or 3 field to because they would like to extend, yeah, and deliver to the minister to new open area. Something like this is happen in Indonesia. So the idle field undeveloped discovery is not new, but the existence, the government present today showing us the opportunity is there to make it boosting the production.
Well, the logical continuing question would be, what about the economics? They are becoming idle wells for a reason, Pak Ricky, I guess, right? I mean, we all know doing things in oil and gas, people are idle, and especially abandoned wells was either technically or financially not attractive any longer. But how we address the economic issue of this? I mean, without without jeopardizing the safety, all the technical issues.
Yeah, I think every investor has a hurdle, a minimum attractive rate of return. Yeah, with the BP, with Ibu Carol, and the reputable company has a minimum attractive return. But with the small scale of the organization, maybe the hurdle rate is not same like the big one. So this the strategic alliance, like Pak Ariana mentioned, we can talk together with the simplified scheme of the economic. Will make it higher profitability. So this is the intinya, kita bisa, Pak. Apa yang Bapak dan Ibu butuhkan, kita diskusikan bersama. Kita ajak bersama ketemu Pak Ariana, kita sampaikan ke Pak Menteri kondisinya, dan ini bisa dieksekut. Seperti itulah kurang lebihnya, Pak. Saya susah ngomongnya nih, Pak, mohon maaf.
Sangat very candid. We appreciate your candor. Supaya agak adil nih Pak Edi, kita tanya. Jadi kalau saya dapat dari semua orang ini bilang moderator kerjanya apa sih, cuma bacain pertanyaan orang aja gitu ya. Sekarang gantian saya yang menanya deh, sekali-sekali. Ini ada Pak Edi kan tadi udah itu ya. You know mention all those prospective areas, new areas, right? And people don't go there, or you don't offer there in the first place for a reason. Perhaps because of the remoteness, perhaps because of but there are risk and reward kind of things, right? And from your point of view as a geologist or somebody who you're doing the data acquisitions, right? Whether these type of difficulties, for example, in terms of or the challenges, and this needs to be reflected in the risk and reward kind of things, right? Would you actually tell Pa Ariana or Pa Nanang all the way to the top, right? How to make this, concession area attractive by giving more, I mean, if we learn from Mexico's case, opening the Gulf of Mexico on their sides, they're giving a lot of freedoms for the people who would like to bid. And then can we actually move into the bid based on the input coming from Pa Eddie's assessment, the data acquisition and everything, and telling, hey, we will actually sell or we can get the interest of the bidders only if. Would you actually do this kind of thing to be, suggested to your colleagues within the ministry or MIGAS?
Okay, thank you, Pak Wawan. So the hardest thing, based on my experience, is that the give the understanding to Pak Menteri, to our minister, that the data availability on the frontier area need to be acquired, and that's the reason that data availability in terms of quantity and also quality is the substantial. And now our ministers already understand and give us full of support, yeah, to do some exploration on the frontier sedimentary basin that we feel that it must be attractive when the data is available in a good and also in terms of quality and also quantity, of course. And that's the reason that, of course, I and Pa Ariana talk quite a lot, and because we must collaborate in terms of the offering new blocks in an open area. So don't worry too much about it. So we will always, and our working group, and my working group, Pa Ariana's staff and also Pa Ariki's staff, doing some stiff discussion, doing some the risking of the prospectivity this area. That there are so many actually. So that's quite a lot of thing that we already done to do that. Pak Wawan.
Pak Nanang mau nambahin?
Ya, Pak Wawan, the contractor to get the new block for the exploration, we have two types. Yeah, using the joint study. So initiative come from the operator. Yeah, they have knowledge, they have data, they have concept, information, and so on, and propose the joint study to the government. And after that, they do the joint study, collaborate with the university, yeah, up to the 6 months, sometime 8 months, and accomplish the joint study, and we go on with the proposal. So usually the block will be active, and then operator willing to invest, and then what we call the follow up with the exploration activities. Yeah, mostly the block discovery, new discovery come from the joint study. Yeah, because the initiative come from the operator. The other type, government have the initiative based on our study, yeah, our data, and then analysis, something like that. And of course, with the bring the concept, and sometimes we have the resources, yeah, based on our study, we have the several prospect leads, something like that. And yeah, sometime because you know that the geologist is not like mathematics, yeah. So every geologist have the different concept, different what we call the knowledge, yeah. Talking about the certain area. To support regular tender will be succeed compared with the direct offer. So government through the Capman, minister, last minister, established the exploration study, yeah, and lucky because I lead for the 3 years exploration study, 2002 up to 2003. We accomplished the study around the eastern Indonesia. We have the 5 blocks from the Buton, Seram, Aru, Papua, and then Timor. And so far, except the Warim, all is sold out, yeah, acquired by the operator, yeah, and then like Binaya, Bubara, yeah, part of our study result. And then for the second round, we accomplished for the Indonesian, Western Indonesia, yeah, part 1 comprises the North Sumatra Basin, South Sumatra Basin, and Northeast Java Basin. And all the area candidate based on our study result sold out as well. And the last year, we accomplished the second round for the West Indonesia, comprises from the South Kalimantan, Eastern Kalimantan, up to the South Makassar, and then Natuna as well, and southern part of the East Java offshore, and still ongoing. But thank you, Pak Edi. All the candidate block to be offered based on our study exploration study result.
Ini pertanyaan buat Pak geologis nih. Can we be in the next Guyana or Suriname? He said he hopes so. Let's. Okay, we get already all the notices. I'd like to end this session by, ini nggak mau kalah sama Pak Ricky. Minyak dan gas jadi andalan. Dikelola bijak untuk kemajuan. Sesi berakhir penuh harapan. Sampai jumpa di lain kesempatan. Mohon maaf kalau ada kesalahan. Kalau yang bagus untuk para panelis, kalau ada yang salah, tanggung jawab saya. Terima kasih semuanya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak, and thank you for the pantun as well. Pak Widiawan, thank you for moderating the session. And now would like to deliver mementos to all of our speakers and moderator. And for this, would like to invite Mr. Kevin Moore and Ibu Meti again to the stage. Sorry, Ibu Carol Gal, is she around? Ibu Carol, please come forward. All right, so quite a busy panel on this second session of the day. Yeah, so it was a great review on the progress in increasing oil and gas investment as a way the government of Indonesia aims to achieve energy resilience, and what key hurdles there are in Indonesia's upstream oil and gas investment and how to overcome them. And with a team of task force here that was presenting their insights and information, it was made clear of the roadmap with identified potential resources to increase oil and gas lifting and optimize production. Hopefully this is a way good to go for Indonesia's energy resiliency. All right, now some photo opportunity. Don't forget to smile, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Once again, all speakers, thank you very much. Moderator, thank you. Ibu Carol and Mr. Kevin, thank you very much. Yes, you may return to your seats. And that concludes the second panel of our plenary today. Once again, thank you all speakers, moderator. You may return to your seats. And for those of you, our delegates and participants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere yet because we will still have one more session, which is the final session on the plenary of IPA 2025 coming right after this.